When it comes to playmats for Magic the Gathering and other tabletop gaming, you are purchasing not just a pretty illustration, but a portable gaming space, and a clean one at that. This video will compare and contrast playmats from BCW, the Soft Touch mat from Ultra Pro, the playmats offered by brand new company Turn 1 Gaming, and we'll also look at the line of Magic the Gathering oriented playmats from the internet comedy troupe LoadingReadyRun. The tables at your local game store are probably not as clean as they look, and certainly not the surfaces at that restaurant or bar you're playing at. That's why playmats are so vital. Their function is to protect our cards by keeping them clean and pristine. Let's take a look. So, speaking of an overemphasis on artwork, let's start out with the opposite, the very plain offering from BCW. Available in the 5 main mana colors, they might just be a single color, but I enjoyed that simplicity. They're bright, stitched around the border, and feature the BCW dragon logo as an emblem. Now, my first concern was for that sparkling emblem in the corner. Is it going to scratch off, or worse, be coarse, and possibly scratch my cards? The answer is a solid no. There's little to no noticeable protrusion from the logo. And while I am sure heavy play and the passage of time will eventually, like with most things, lead to some fading, the emblem isn't the problem. The problem is that stitched border. It wasn't until I actually sat down to play Magic using these mats that I realized the fatal flaw. And that is the border protruding from the surface, forming a lip. Now, let me ask you this. How do you pick up your Magic cards from your mat? The vast majority of players slide their cards off the edge of the mat and into their hands. Doing so catches on the stitched border, creating a friction and bending your card. If sleeved, it creates folds along the edges of the sleeve. And if you happen to be playing without sleeves, you'll damage your cards outright. Now, before you ask when is a player going to be playing with unsleeved cards, let me point out a few things. We don't just use our playmats for playing games of Magic. We use that for sorting cards, for going through our collection, or even just during a draft, passing around unsleeved cards. And 9 times out of 10, players are going to be picking up those cards by sliding them towards the edge. But of course, on these BCW playmats, even sleeved cards can cause damage to the card through the friction of hitting up against that border. It is subtle, but very, very noticeable. And quite frankly, it's unacceptable. Price point, like most BCW products, is really great at $9.99. But as soon as a product runs any significant risk of damaging your cards, it's a D. Several people I played against while testing these mats asked me incredulously, didn't they play any actual games on these before selling them? I tend to agree with that sentiment, and thus this is not just a D, but a D-. At first glance, Glorious PC Gaming Race's TCG mats appear to be almost identical to the BCW playmats. But that's why playtesting is so important, because they're actually a much better quality. First and foremost is the fact that the stitched border along these playmats is much more in line with the playmat surface, meaning there is no lip like there is with the BCW mats. Now, that being said, while I did not find it to be a danger to my cards, I'm still not a fan of this, and if you push down in just the right way, yes, you can get it slightly caught. But as you can see here, I'm obviously not too worried about a quick catch or any damage to the card. While I understand what the company is trying to accomplish by having the stitched border, I personally am more willing to have edges that will eventually fray, as opposed to a corner that might sometimes catch. Now, the other difference about this mat is it's much more like one of those high-quality mouse pads, and in fact, that is what this company is best known for. This is a heavy-duty playmat, twice as thick as most. Machine washable, highly durable, and as the lack of any color options indicates, they are going for a no-frills approach, which I appreciate to a degree. I think for some players, this might be exactly what they're looking for in terms of a plain, heavy-duty, black mat. That border still isn't something that I can really heavily endorse, but the quality is there, and at a price point of $14.99, which is actually, as of the filming of this video, on sale for even less, I can say this is on the high end of satisfactory at C+. Ultra Pro, one of the largest manufacturers of MTG playmats, their standard neoprene mat already graded as a solid B by me, has come forward with a completely different tactile surface here with their soft touch. Now, when I first heard about this mat, I wondered if Ultra Pro was creating their version of the A-quality Calcibrains micro suede cloth mats. But I was very disappointed to discover that this is just another variation on their typical rubber mat. The surface is very tactile, and while not exactly abrasive, is far from smooth, and in fact is the least likely surface for your cards to slide around on, even if you've just sleeved up your cards in brand new sleeves. While that might sound appealing at first, I found it impossible to play on. Sliding your cards around is something you are constantly doing, whether repositioning cards on the battlefield or just tapping them. The soft touch is a no-glide surface. During testing, I became so frustrated with the feel of this mat that I literally couldn't stand it anymore, and during a fairly big tournament, I had to just roll it up, throw it away, and play instead on an unprotected surface. Cost is $16.99 and up. I do not recommend this mat whatsoever, but while it's a D+ in my grade sheet, I will offer the provision that if you happen to be looking for a mat with absolutely no possibility of cards sliding around on, then this might actually be the mat for you. For the rest of us, no, it's a D+. Turn 1 Gaming says their company goal is finding new ways to make the games more fun for players. While that's a very subjective thing to quantify, I can say that their playmats are high quality, with bright, vivid colors and excellent durability. One particularly notable physical difference between Turn 1 Gaming mats is the thickness, as they are about twice as thick as most mats. There's many different illustrations to choose from on their site. This comic-styled mat is made with Magic the Gathering in mind, featuring lively action sequences of a game in progress, as well as a built-in life counter to track your life total from anywhere between 1 and 100. Now, Turn 1 Gaming told me their circuit playmat was meant for all types of gaming, and was not exclusively designed for Magic the Gathering. That being said, maybe this design is akin to an ink blot, with my subconscious mind seeing what it wants to see, but I felt there was a square for your deck, graveyard, and even an oversized commander card. Manufactured in the USA with high quality, and excelling in both form and function, the mats retail for about $19.99. Great smooth surface feel as well. These are high quality, and I'm gonna say B+. The internet comedy troupe LoadingReadyRun has recently changed the manufacturer of their line of playmats, so I decided to take a look and see if this was indeed a change for the better. Their original mats were far too thick. Not just thick, but they had a tendency to curl if stored in a roll for too long a period of time. But their new line of mats are fabulous, excellent in fact. Cloth top with a rubber bottom for traction, and fully machine washable. These mats are thin but durable, And the imagery here is simply sublime, with such vivid, continuous coloring that it came as no surprise to me to learn that these are produced in cooperation with inked playmats. I am so glad that LoadingReadyRun wasn't just a cynical group stamping their logo onto a mat and not caring about the end result. They went with inked because they wanted the best, just as I and many other Magic the Gathering players turn to LoadingReadyRun when we want the best content as well. LoadingReadyRun's contributions to the Magic community are deep. They embody the joy and love of this game that most of us feel when playing, and that's because they have a sincere and genuine love for this game themselves. I've always said LoadingReadyRun doesn't work for Wizards of the Coast. They work for us. They are our ambassadors. But of course, that's where I get my added points to their playmats, which is how I can say that inked playmats are a solid A, but LoadingReadyRun playmats are an A+. But that's just me, of course. And whenever you have an MTG artist, an illustrator, a content creator that you love, and you are able to reflect that love on your playmat, that's you adding extra points. And for whoever you add those extra points to, I hope this video has been of some use to you. You can help me out by remembering to subscribe, like, share, or just by leaving a comment. I'd love to hear what artwork, which artists, which illustrators, or creators are extra bonus points in your gradebook. And this video has been brought to you by the generous support of patron alums at Patreon, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.